Did Jesus play a greater role in the Old Testament than we may have realized? How is it that we cannot see God and live, yet Abraham saw and spoke with the Lord in Genesis 18? Is this an allusion to God the Father and God the Son in the Old Testament, before the Lord was made incarnate as Jesus Christ? Who appeared to Abraham at the Oaks of Mamre? Then the Lord appeared to Abraham at the Oaks of Mamre, while he was sitting in the entrance of his tent during the heat of the day. He looked up and he saw 3 men standing near him. When he saw them, he ran from the entrance of the tent to meet them and bowed to the ground. Then he said, "My Lord, if I've found favor in your sight, please don't go on past your servant. Let a little water be brought, that you may wash your feet and rest yourselves under the tree. I'll bring a bit of bread, so that you may strengthen yourselves. This is why you've passed your servant's way. Later you can continue on." "Yes," they replied, "do as you've said." Did Abraham prepare a meal for them to eat? Does that mean that God and angels can eat? Abraham hurried into the tent and told Sarah, "Quick, take 3 measures of the best flour, knead it, and make some flatbread." Next Abraham ran to the herd, found a choice and tender calf, and gave it to the young men, who went off in a hurry to prepare it. Then he took curds, milk, and the calf that had been prepared, placed the food in front of them, and stood near them under the tree while they ate. Did Sarah also laugh, as Abraham had on a previous occasion? Remember, Isaac means to laugh. And they said to him, "Where's Sarah your wife?" And he said, "Behold, in the tent." And he said, "I'll certainly return to you according to the time of life. And lo, Sarah your wife shall have a son." And Sarah heard it in the tent door, which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, "After I'm waxed old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also?" Was Sarah embarrassed about laughing? Imagine being reminded of that when you use your son's name. But the Lord said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh, saying, 'Shall I actually give birth to a child when I'm so old?' Is anything too difficult for the Lord? At the appointed time I'll return to you, at this time next year, and Sarah will have a son." Sarah denied it, however, saying, "I didn't laugh," for she was afraid. And he said, "No, but you did laugh." When the 3 left, did they walk part of the way with Abraham? When the men got up to leave, they looked down towards Sodom, and Abraham walked along with them to see them on their way. Then the Lord said, "Shall I hide from Abraham what I'm about to do? Abraham will surely become a great and powerful nation, and all the nations on earth will be blessed through him. For I've chosen him, so that he'll direct his children and his household after him to keep the way of the Lord, by doing what's right and just, so that the Lord will bring about for Abraham what he's promised him." What did the Lord say to Abraham? Does God really need to go and see? Or was he speaking in human terms? And the Lord said, "Because the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grave, I'll go down now and see whether they've done altogether according to the outcry against it that has come to me. And if not, I'll know." Did Abraham have a private conversation with the Lord? Was he persistent with God? The other men turned and headed towards Sodom, but the Lord remained with Abraham. Abraham approached him and said, "Will you sweep away both the righteous and the wicked? Suppose you find 50 righteous people living there in the city. Will you sweep it away and not spare it for their sakes? Surely you wouldn't do such a thing, destroying the righteous along with the wicked." Why would you be treating the righteous and the wicked exactly the same? Surely you wouldn't do that. Should not the judge of all the earth do what's right? And the Lord replied, If I find 50 righteous people in Sodom, I'll spare the entire city for their sake. Then Abraham spoke again, Since I've begun, let me speak further to my Lord, even though I'm but dust and ashes. Suppose there are only 45 righteous people rather than 50. Will you destroy the whole city for lack of 5? And the Lord said, I'll not destroy it, if I find 45 righteous people there. Then Abraham pressed his request further. Suppose there are only 40. And the Lord replied, I'll not destroy it for the sake of the 40. Please don't be angry, my Lord, Abraham pleaded. Let me speak. Suppose only 30 righteous people are found. And the Lord replied, I'll not destroy it if I find 30. Then Abraham said, Since I've dared to speak to the Lord, let me continue. Suppose there are only 20. And the Lord replied, Then I'll not destroy it for the sake of the 20. Finally Abraham said, Lord, please don't be angry with me if I speak one more time. Suppose only 10 are found there. And the Lord replied, Then I'll not destroy it for the sake of the 10. When the Lord had finished his conversation with Abraham, he went on his way, and Abraham returned to his tent. Did Jesus play a greater role in the Old Testament than we may have realized? How is it that we cannot see God and live, yet Abraham saw and spoke with the Lord in Genesis 18? Is this an allusion to God the Father and God the Son in the Old Testament, before the Lord was made incarnate as Jesus Christ? You decide.